Fireball Tim has been on before, and it's always an honor. The man is responsible for over 400 of Hollywood's most famous movie cars, has the coloring book series. We're just going to bring Fireball in. Fireball, welcome to the show. Good.
What? Gentlemen, we're having a shortage of shortages out here, so we're kicking some butt.
Yeah,
awesome.
Sure. Well, this short, I don't know. Let me ask you, as a creative, do you ever experience a shortage?
I think the only shortages right now is I couldn't find any Parmesan cheese at the market. That's about it. So, a lot of it is, as you know, that when you start believing people's comments, and you know that the internet is just full of all truth,
right?
That when you start following people and listening to what people say, and you can go down that rabbit hole. So I just try to steer clear, and I don't watch the news. There's a few things I don't do just because I know it's not going to drive me forward. So, there's always going to be someone telling you that things aren't working or things suck, but I just refuse to listen and keep going.
I love it.
Man, that's spot on. I mean, like from day one of civilization now, of course, with social, it seems like there's too much to absorb. And let me ask you, Fireball, as a creative, what do you think about TikTok? Some would say TikTok is got many of our kids sort of zoned in the wrong way. Next thing you know, it's 5 hours of TikTok time. Since we're on the topic, what's your thought on TikTok?
That's a tough one because anytime a new platform comes out, honestly, anytime something new comes out, there's going to be people that criticize it for a number of reasons. But, you have to at some point realize that this is not going away. This is something that, my addiction to chocolate, that if I don't keep a lid on it or keep it in check, it can be bad. And I'm certainly there's cases where people are using TikTok and they're overdoing it and not doing other things, that they could spend their time on. And then there's people that are using it to their advantage. Someone like, if you listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, and he talks about the value, the positive side of it. You just gotta be aware of what side of the fence that you're on. And with most things, I try to spend less time criticizing others for the way I think they should act and be, and just concentrate on the stuff that I'm doing because it certainly doesn't help anybody. I think TikTok's a great platform. We're using it really well for a number of things with regard to the business and sharing our love of cars and our love of the town that we're in, out in Malibu. It's a great platform, It's a great way to connect with people, and it's different. We're trying it out. So far, so good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll dip in and out of it. I want to go back to a point that you mentioned, and I think that, regardless of whether one is in the automotive industry or even a creative for that matter, but you said something that is pretty powerful, and that's the discipline of balance and really choosing your battles. Do you find that some creatives, let's get on that creative space side, whatever it is, it could be an upcoming technician that's learning his craft. I mean, that you got to learn the black and white. You got to be creative. It's that mind process that's involved. Do you find that the discipline side of things today, with all that we're inundated, is much more challenged for a creative than, let's say, 10, 15 years ago? Were we just inundated, Fireball?
Well, I think that first of all, we have to get a perspective on what it means to be a creative. And the truth is that we're all creative. If you could go home and make a salad for yourself tonight, you find a salad that you like. If you're creating your business, you're creating the clothing that you wear. We all create to an extent. Some people focus on certain areas more than others, and I love cars, so that's my space. But I think that what's kind of going on right now is that we're kind of becoming a justice-addicted society. Is that we're spending more time on needing to be right than being happy.
Yep.
And the problem with that, obviously, is that when you're not aware and you have this overwhelming urge to be right all the time, or in most cases, it's really just not being wrong. You just don't you don't like the idea of having to make a mistake, you're missing a golden opportunity, because the way that we learn things as creatives is we got to screw up. It's very rare that you do an oil change the first time and do it right. And if we got on our case every time, if you're working on your car and let's say you're new to it and you just got on your case and gave yourself a hard time and criticized yourself, or had someone stand there and criticize you because you took the tire off wrong or you did something wrong, then you're chipping away at your self-esteem. You're chipping away at your ability to be creative. And it's important that I think it's very important. It's crucial to screw up. Yeah. So I welcome the opportunity to screw up as often as I possibly can. And trust me, I've done my share. But the value is on right around the corner. It's kind of like you're driving up in the mountains and you're getting real sick on the curves. And you go, like, God, man, I hope there's a straightaway somewhere so I can take a break. Right around the corner of screwing up is that beautiful golden egg that's sitting there waiting for you, and which is that awareness that in order to do something well, you have to screw up a lot. And I try to I think that it helps to make people less afraid to screw up when they have a perspective that it's okay. Yeah. But unfortunately, we're not so much afraid of screwing up as we are in mentioning a justice-based society, that someone else is going to call us out on our screw up, and we're going to be embarrassed and feel bad and feel wrong and for all these things. And we kind of got to get back on track. There's a lot of people that are having difficulty, young people especially, in not understanding that it's okay to screw up. It's okay. It's necessary as a human being, as a creative, to be more creatively powerful. You got to make mistakes, and you got to find a way to welcome that into your life. Like you guys were talking about the turn on red light, which I'm really upset about personally, because I really enjoyed, on every corner here in Southern California, we have pedestrian baskets. So when you bump into a pedestrian, if it lands in the basket, you get extra points. If you don't, then you're out of luck.
You get 2 points.
I can
10
see
points.
He's saying Fireball's saying on the intersection there's a buzzer. It's like being in a Lakers game.
Years perfecting that and screwing up, and I can't tell you how many baskets I've missed. But I'm starting to get really good at it. Now they changed the freaking law, and this is irritating to me. I'm frustrated about this. And we'll do that on another day, go more in depth. But
well, that's the problem. You listen to Wrench Nation, you got some news. Normally, you're steering away from the news, but I guess it's a problem.
Yeah. I'm just mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. So no right turn on red means no more additional points. Free Starbucks and all the great things I was getting as I racked up my pedestrian basket points. But life goes on. You got to cope with it.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, before we dive into, your history is just incredible by way of automotive art, style, and design. Technology is here. It's happening.
Yep.
Some are frustrated with it. You're out and about all over California, and I know that's kind of the main spot, Fireball. I know that you'll leave the state and you'll do other shows, but primarily Southern California. You're out at these car shows. Do you think we're headed in a bad direction by way of car culture versus technology? Are folks going to sort of become this stale piece of bread regarding the interaction with their ride because of technology? How do you see that panning out in the future?
Well, once again, it's easier to criticize than it is to accept change. It's hard for people to look at something new, and people had a hard time when we went from from a VCR to a Laserdisc, and then to a Blu-ray, and then to streaming. There's always going to be people out there that are complaining about technology and saying it's the devil, and I welcome it. I'm always looking forward to the future, but we are going through a time now where there's a lot of things that are unresolved. It's difficult to create electric cars without having necessarily the infrastructure for electric cars. And we're starting to create those things. But, there's always going to be that guy that loves his gas-powered monster, and he's against that. And I deal with these things all the time. Every time I go to a show, it's the gambit. It's the people that go, I love those electric cars. That Tesla is really cool. And then you talk to someone else, and they can't stand it. And they think that Elon's a monster. And I think that once again, we kind of have to stay away from criticizing things that we don't have control over. And because most of the time, criticism is easy, but people aren't protecting their own peace. They're not protecting their own sanity, their own peace of mind. And when you see something you don't like, then you jump all over it. You try to get other people to get on your bandwagon, and you feel really good that all of a sudden you got 3 or 4 people that you're criticizing. And to me, that's wasted time. That's time that could be better spent thinking about the people that I love and the things that I love to do. And I not going to be perfect. A lot of it's going to suck, but we are moving in that direction. There isn't a damn thing that you can do about it. And you got to find a way to look at change as not being something scary and constantly pointing out the people that are not doing it to your specifications, because these guys are armchair criticizers.
No doubt.
People can.
They are.
Yeah,
True.
It's very easy to criticize somebody, but my question is, well, maybe he's not doing it perfectly. Maybe he's screwing up a lot. But what the hell are you doing?
That's right.
And those, it's easy for people to make a comment on something, slam their power book closed, and then go hide. And you deal with a lot of those people, and you have to have empathy for those people because they are scared. They're scared of change. They have things that are going on in their lives that aren't as perfect as they'd like to. But I'd like for people to understand and get to realize that the power to change their own lives is within them. It's not out there, and technology is not there to hurt them. It's there to advance the race forward and to explore ideas. Not all of it is going to work. So and we're going to see. It's like the drone cars, the flying cars. A lot of those, there's a lot of R&D in life, and when you go out on dates, man, it's R&D time. It's like.
Automotive engineering is synonymous with dating, I always said.
Yeah, exactly. Dates
test the waters.
Yeah.
It's
just really horrible. You can go out and have a horrible date, and it's like, oh man, I already need that one up the wazoo. But when you get it right, then it was worth it. It was worth it to spend the time and to screw it up, and only to realize that I needed to go through that curve. I needed to change my perspective. I needed to see life in a better way. And you want to spend more time being happy than your need to be right all the time. And
I think you've hit
really
it.
Know how to do that.
You've hit it right on the head, and for many, it's not an easy thing, because I think you had mentioned this whole group think. I belong to this group think ideology, and I'm comfortable with how I'm thinking on a particular topic. And let's remove politics and all this other stuff. But I think it does affect us individually, because we're not tapping our best selves, and our failure. Yeah. So our failure goes from, well, I failed, it's okay, to, well, let me see how many other people failed, and I'll have a certain way of thinking about that. When the fact is, it's part of the natural process. Period.
Agreed. Right.
Well, in the film industry, we call it the Jurassic Park syndrome, and that is that. They were so intent on making dinosaurs that they never questioned whether they should in the first place.
Agreed.
And a lot of people live their life that way. They're so intent on giving someone a piece of their, like what someone said or did, that they never really questioned that one of the options is to not say anything at all, is to go on with your life and go eat a cookie, or go to the park, or go to the beach, or go for a hike, or do something that makes you happy. But we have this urge, this need to give our opinions, and without questioning what am I getting out of doing this? Right. And I think it's a very important question. It's a crucial question that if you want a happy life, then you need to do happy things. If you're constantly criticizing people, then you're going to bring on a lot of criticism yourself. for yourself. And it would just be a much better life, a much more enjoyable life if you concentrate on the things that bring you joy. And I try to do that out here. We live in a very beautiful place. I'm incredibly grateful. I'm humbled on a daily basis that I actually get up and get out of bed and spend some time with you guys and with I can't tell you, I'm excited as all hell to be doing this new coloring book with you guys.
Well, you rock. We're gonna have that announcement. If you're just joining us, I invite you to visit fireballtim.com. That's going to be an opening to all kinds of goodness. We're going to talk to Fireball here in a bit. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about the pressure of Hollywood. When Fireball was younger and he was up and coming, great creative, great artist, designer. What was the pressure like from Hollywood? And did that change his perspective? Or did he just say, as he's saying now, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do me and enjoy the journey. I want you guys to stay tuned. Wrench Nation. Fireball, Tim Lawrence, Amazon.com. Let's welcome back Fireball Tim. Are you there?
Thank you, sir.
Right on.
All right.
We admire that all you do. And I have to just go back because I know that there's a few people tuning in. They may have a few struggles in life. And I think it does come down to so well stated as a reflection, Fireball, in always trying to be right. How many marriages were ruined from that? How many kids have dropped out of a class that they were actually doing okay
Right,
in,
and excited about.
and the failure was a norm,
too
but
much.
they were chasing. And I have this phenomenon with my daughter, Natalie, who is an amazing student, but her gig is she is just scratching and clawing to be 100% perfect, and that's a tough road to go. Before we get into the topsy-turvy of Hollywood, I got to go back in time, Fireball. Your sense of zen and balance. My understanding is you've got a black belt. Is this true, Fireball?
I am currently wearing it right now.
I need a
holding my
picture of
pants
that.
up.
I need a picture of that.
All right, now folks don't
And
just
that's all I'm wearing.
Oh, too much information.
yeah, there you go. But folks don't just say, I'm going to be on a quest for a black belt. Like there's usually something in their life. What triggered you, Fireball? I mean, here you are, you're busy, you're up and coming, and you decided black belt is where I'm headed.
Well, I think that probably that came from my mom. My mom was an extraordinary person. She never really made a big deal out of anything, and her perspective was unique in that if something bad happened, it wasn't a big dramatic, overwhelming thing. Even when people died, it was the understanding to get grounded and that these things happen for a reason to help us expand and grow, not to deter us from our goal or to cause us strain. And people are kind of addicted to the dramas of life. And I we have our show Art Talk that we do that we're actually shifting to Fridays, but it's important that people understand that wherever you put your attention is what grows in your life. And it's a hard thing for people to understand because it's about accountability, about, that you have to be responsible for the way your life is going and not blame other people. And, and you were speaking about pressure earlier, that, the pressure in Hollywood, the pressure anywhere could be enormous, but it's only enormous if you make it that way.
True.
And you have to realize that with every step you take in life, with every day that goes by, you're either alleviating pressure or you're adding pressure based on your thinking process. If you think something's a problem, then it becomes a problem. If you think something is not that big of a deal, then it's not. And my mom was very unique. Is that we would grab our family car. We were going to go see a movie, but I told her I wanted to go and go into a swim meet and go race before we went to the movies. So she would take the whole family, which was 7 of us. We would drive down to this pool that was in our town, and she'd say, "Hurry up and go get your first place medal, and don't let me find out that you raced against kids your own age." And so as I'm running down the stairs to the pool, I'm thinking, okay, I got to get a first place, and I got to race against kids that are older than me. Okay, great. So then I'd go and I would get fourth or third and second if I was lucky. But, I'd bring it back up and I'd show her and she goes, great, let's go to the movies.
Right.
She never judged as to whether something wasn't good enough or too good. It was just, there was never any pressure. And as a result of that, I think that my perspective on life is that, when you're faced with something that feels like pressure, then you are either, with your own thoughts, your own words, your own actions, you're either adding to that mix or you're alleviating it based on your perspective of it. If you see it as a problem, it becomes a problem. It grows as a problem. And I've never decided consciously to do that. I've always looked at something and say, oh, that's interesting. And then find a way to let it go and move on. And which is not to say that it's always been this way. There's certainly been difficult times, but certainly at my age now, I can look at working in Hollywood as if I don't get a job on a film and it goes to somebody else or something else, it doesn't matter. You can look at it and say, well, I'm glad he got it. If I get a ticket with a cop on PCH, I can say, well, I learned my lesson. And I'll not do that again. I'm very good friends with the. I'm a commissioner here in town, and one of my.
Lost you.
I think we may have lost Fireball. Fireball, are you there?
Can you hear? Yeah, I'm
okay.
here.
There, you're commissioner.
Yeah. So one of my good friends is the mayor of Malibu, Paul Grisanti, and he has a very unique way of not allowing other people's drama to affect him, and which makes him a great mayor and a great person in the city. And it's something that we can all learn from, is to not allow other people's anxiety and drama to affect our state of mind. And the more that we can work that muscle, which is exactly what it is, to not allow that to happen, you have a better time. I mean, I go to a car show and I just accept what everyone says. I don't try to argue with someone whether a Mopar is better than a Chevy or whether a Toyota is a better driver than a Honda. Just listen and just accept what people say and view it as interesting and then move on. And your life just naturally gets much better.
Fireball, I gotta address that. As a young 20-something who's sort of trying to identify their path, let's just face it, probably a good percentage weren't taught early on coping skills.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some listening may say this is so far out from where I'm at trying to carve my path because my life is anxiety. I have a tough time paying bills.
Yeah.
The car that I want is not even, especially now with youngsters. Yes, I'm a little jaded. I speak to my oldest who cannot afford to buy a home right now because they're so outrageous in her world.
It's different.
And as a dad, I say, hey, accept it. It's not always going to be the same. This is your journey. But for so many, they just can't relate to that. What do you tell someone up and coming who's got the anxiety, who is just living every day with a bundle of frustration that weren't, a lot of these kids are not, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, God bless my mom. She raised us the way we needed to be, and single mom, and we had to deal with that independence. But a lot of kids they're not taught these coping skills, and they end up in the wrong.
Yeah, and they don't know how.
They go a different way because, that's accepting, that's attention, that's group think, I feel good. I got to lean on you, Fireball. If not for what you did as a young 20-something, the great network that you have, how do you tell a young 20-something, like, how do you convince them that this is part of the journey?
I actually had this conversation with someone at a show recently here in town. There's a young guy that came up to me and he said, man, I wish, because it was a show, it was a money show. It was full of exotics, McLarens, and all that nonsense. And this guy said, man, I wish that I could make the kind of money that these guys make, and so I could have those cars. And I said, well, you can. What makes you think that you can't? But his dialogue was giving him away because he would say, I just had a conversation with one of them, and I said, I'm so broke. How am I going to ever get to this point?
Yep.
And I said, well, you can't do that. And he thought I said, you can't have a conversation with the guy. I said, no, you can't verbalize that you're broke. The one secret to any wealth or any health or anything that you're working towards is, once again, whatever you focus on expands. And if you're constantly, your dialogue is giving you away. When you say, I can't pay my bills, when you say, I'm under stress, when you say, I'm having a bad day, you're verbalizing a lot of negativity and you're manifesting that. And you have to be very careful that to not use your voice, which is a vibration, to send that message. And that's what we're doing. We're constantly sending messages into the ether, and we're stating the way our life is. And the universe is responding to us and what we're giving. So if you're constantly giving out messages that say, I'm broke, or that this is a tough day, or I'm under pressure, I'm not feeling good, or all the infinite ways in which you can describe your existence, and you're sending that message, the universe is responding in kind. So as an experiment to a 20-year-old, if he was sitting here right now, I'd say, just for this week, I want you to concentrate on all the things that you are excited about. Don't talk about the things. This is why, the news and going to a car show and getting into a dialogue about Trump and Biden or about this and that, or about Mopar and Chevy and Ford and arguing what's best and who's at fault and blah, blah, blah. Just as a singular movement in the right direction for anybody listening, if you can spend a day focusing on what it is that you're trying to get done, all the things that make you happy, and to verbalize those things in a way so that you understand that you're sending a message. It's like you're calling up the wealth god and you're saying, I'm broke. Yeah. And he's not going to respond to you. But when you can't ask for wealth, you have to demand it. You have to demand the things that you want in your life, and make it clear to people around you that this is the direction that you're going. And if you don't do that, you're not going to make any progress. When I first got in the film industry, I was at Walt Disney Imagineering for years with my wife, and I just said, this is what I'm going to do next. It's the same thing that Arnold Schwarzenegger said. Here's a guy that comes from Austria and says he's going to be a huge star, which he does. Then he says he's going to be governor, which he does. It's just everything that he said he's going to do, he does. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But if you're constantly dialoguing negativity and putting your attention on the people that are giving you a hard time, or blaming your mother-in-law because she's not paying for your education, or blaming your dad for not giving you the tools that you need to be successful, blah, blah, blah. There's infinite excuses that you can give, but there's only one true choice, and that is to go do it.
Fireball, you're hitting so many great points, and I think I can speak for a lot of our audience. You're definitely getting us to reflect.
Yep.
And honestly, my feeling is like, it's okay. I got to ask you, fear and greed, those are powerful emotions that can play with our state of mind, and in all actuality, get directly in the way of what we're trying to attract. It's sort of a psychological, natural phenomenon. We all have elements of fear and greed. We have to dial it in. And of course, as you said earlier, as we gain in our journey and we see whatever it is that works for us individually as success, we balance that out. Do you think it works on the opposite side? I've gotten to where I need to be. I am now, and it doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be a material richness. But I get to a certain point where then it works in the opposite way, and now I'm in a greedy state. And so now how I deal with my industry or how I deal with my community is rotten.
Yeah. Well, there's really only two mindsets. There's a get mindset and there's a give mindset. And the get mindset is based in fear, and it uses greed to get the things that they want, and it's very powerful, and it can be very effective. Unfortunately, it does not last. I always make the joke that Bernie Madoff made off with everybody's money until the day he didn't. And when it caught up with him, and then he died in prison. So greed is very powerful, that's for sure. But if you look at it from the standpoint that greed is a class you're taking in college, it's a concept that you have to be introduced to be wary of, to not to be seduced by, and you're just taking a class. That's all. You're looking at it without judgment. You're just saying, okay, there's greed in the world. There's people that are greedy. That doesn't mean I have to be. What do I want in my life? If I look at my life from a giving standpoint, understanding that whatever I focus on expands. If I give to the community, if I give to car culture, if I give to a life without fear and inspire other people to do the same thing, then that's going to come back to me, and that's going to affect people positively. And that's to me as a life well lived. And anybody can do that. It doesn't take much to be kind to some people, to be kind to people in general. But the reason people aren't is because we're a fear-based society. We've been sold on a bill of goods, and that's really what COVID was. And a lot of the things that happen through the news is the news prospers because they use a very simple tactic, which is fear. And Frank, you could easily go on the radio and say, look, if you guys don't do this with your car's going to break down. You're going to be stranded on the side of the road, and that's it. Oh, and by the way, buy my book, on how to do that.
Yeah, that's not what we're about.
You can use fear very easily to induce that type of mentality and get people to bend at your will. And that's one way to do it. But it doesn't breed happiness. It doesn't fill the world. We're here as human beings to add to the world.
Yeah.
Not to have a get mentality and take everything that we can possibly get.
I tell you,
of course, they're Hot Wheels, and I want as many Hot Wheels as I can possibly get my hands on.
Yeah, exactly. That's the exception. That's a collection for spirit, for sure. For years, Fireball, we have a few minutes left here. I thought of myself, man, I'm go-getter. I'm going to go get. And one of my great clients gave me a book, and this was the last few years, and gave me this book, and I kind of felt this internally, but it just needed to read the title, and that's Go Giver. A lot of you are go-getters, and there's nothing wrong with, hey, get your grind on. When Arnold Schwarzenegger said, hey, I want to do all these things, he didn't sit there Zen mode and just lived in a cave and lit sage. He worked for it, and there's definitely got to be a work ethic, but boy, that book really made me think and kicked it up notches for me personally, and I share that with you listening, and I'll have it in the show links. From go-getter to go-giver, society needs more of that. That's just I mean, a lot of you saying, this show's kumbaya. No, man, it's truth.
It's true.
A lot of us suck at it. We didn't come into this life with a game book, but just like football, if you watch the games, you learn a bit. You play the game, you learn some more. There's still guys that play it extremely well. Then there's stars, guys that live and breathe it and understand it. And the game of life is exactly the same way.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome.
And you can sit on the sidelines and you can watch it go by and not take any chances because you're too afraid to get out there and play the game. Or you can get in there and you get according to how much you give. Or you can be a star, not a star that's the kind that we need to impress people, but you get at whatever level that is, and it comes back to you. So it's there's another book, and I've mentioned this on our show. It's an old book that goes back to the turn of the last century by Florence Scovel Shinn. It's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And it's a very simple, thin book that helps people to understand that if you can look at life like a game and not be upset when people do certain things or things don't work out, just say, okay, well, this is the game. And, it's kind of like, the Colonel Sanders chicken recipe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Times you have to try and sell it. Well, you do it until you get it right, and that's it.
That's what it's about. And as I always say, you got to trust that journey. Fireball, we could sit for hours.
I know, right?
We are going to bring you back. We are just out of time, and unfortunately, You bring a lot to life. I speak for a lot of folks, and we are so grateful. Every day is an inspiration with Fireball Tim Lawrence. Honored to have you on the show, Fireball. Thank you so much for joining Ranch Nation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be doing your book. It's going to be great. Looking forward to it. And, we'll hang out with you guys again.
We will do a wrap
Anytime.
up on that. We're actually coming out with our own little Wrench Nation coloring book, and we're honored to do that. More announcements. Visit Fireball Tim Lawrence, Amazon.com. Get your coloring book on. Just about every automotive genre is there. And as I tell you, everybody, be safe, hug each other, and never forget to hug a mechanic.